Previously on Fabulous.
For somebody who's listening, who is struggling with childbirth, what would you support them with?
It's painful. I think first of all you need to acknowledge where you are.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the fact that you're in pain. And I remember those times I would say, God, I thank you, but I know you know that I am struggling with this. So through the tears, I'm grateful. Being grateful for even that pain is
So Nana, we're looking at our children. I know you had talked earlier on about being fully present. I think that there are multiple processes and responsibilities as parents. We're looking specifically at mothers today. What do you feel your vision or your role as a mother? What does it mean to you? So you talked earlier on about I want to be a great mom to my children. What does that even mean?
motherhood. I think we should see ourselves more as facilitators, because a lot of the time we want to live the lives we didn't live in our childhood in our children.
That one.
So
It's huge.
let me confess. So I always wanted to play the violin.
Okay.
Of course, I got the violin for my daughter.
I will find this very interesting. Oh, confession time.
She had to learn violin, and at some point she was like, "Mommy, I think I'm doing this for you. I don't want to do it again." And I understood. But I think the point I'm making is that we should always step back and look at who is my child.
Yeah. Outside of me.
What do they want to do? And especially when they start getting to the teenage years and they start finding themselves, and then if you are not careful, that's when you start knocking heads, because then you become aware of this separate being who is not part of you, who is trying to find themselves. And then if you are not careful, then the horns will start locking and then you have all of that conflict. But I think generally, basically, you should be facilitating. And one of the things I did with all my kids, even when they were quite young, was to try and understand the kind of personalities they have. In fact, I have 3 different personalities in my house. And then so you can imagine one would be saying, but why is it that you don't treat this person like that? Or you don't say this to this person? Or you don't do that? And then the other one would just be looking. And then another one will be so sad. And Mommy, why don't you just let me be sad? So I have all of these going up in the house. And I think as a parent, as a mother, you should be able to know that these are the personalities of my children. And that's the first step to help you understand how to begin to treat them. And then also, what kind of careers do they want in future? Watch them as they play, as they read. So one of them, you give them like Lego pieces, 5,000. He will stay up. By the time you wake up, he's built something. Give him a book. When if it's 20 pages, then he's flipping, and then he's flipping, then he's flipping. So you need to acknowledge that each of the children have their strengths. And then your role as a parent is to kind of research. So if my child is doing this, what kind of options does he have as a career? And if she's doing this. And I always tell them that the reason why I don't treat you equally is because you all need different things.
Same, yeah.
I can't buy these kinds of books for all of you. Some of you will enjoy it, others won't. So I need to look, what do I buy for this person and that person? So now I think they've gotten the concept of equity.
Yes.
As a parent, you should also. So the first one I talked about, personality, helping them to understand, even for they themselves, this is what I am. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. Career-wise, future, what can you do? What do you like to do now? What will that mean when you grow up? Which subjects
and even realizing that it might change as they grow up.
Yes, it might change. It might change. So just
be open to that.
Watching. So I tell them, I'm not going to restrict you to this, because you might change your mind. Because when you were young, you wanted to be a cook. Now you want to be a lawyer. Now you want to be a doctor. And all of that. So let's keep the options open. And so maybe when you get to the university level, by that time, you probably will be more clear what you want to do. And so there's that part of it. And there's also the part of equity. So not giving them equally the same thing, giving them what each child needs to thrive. And I think that's where sometimes we parents also don't explain to the children properly. And then they think you have favorites and
sibling rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let them understand that, okay, there is equity, means that you need this amount of food and this amount of protein for your age. Your brother needs this amount. So you don't get the same thing, but everybody gets what they need
When they need it.
and to be able to thrive. Yes. So those are the principles. So checking the personality, looking at their future, and looking at being equitable as a parent in the house.
I think that's one of I know we talked about juggling all of the different roles, but listening to you, I know we have similar. I shouldn't actually think we think the same and do the same, but thinking about it or hearing it sounds a lot. How does a parent take a break, give themselves the little break and go through all these research and make sure that they're being fully present for their child, they're participating in their lives, they're not just observers, but they're observing and at the same time guiding? How do parents do that? Because I think a lot of women in particular are struggling with that. So oftentimes now the children are left alone.
Yeah. So I think that if you are not taking good care of yourself, it comes through the engagement with your children. And the children will notice, Mommy, what's wrong with you? So the first step, take care of yourself. I when they were younger, I used to make them sleep around 7:38, and then I'll have from 7:30 to 10 for myself. And sometimes then when they were able to read the clock, they're like, Mommy, but it's not 8 yet. I said, yes, it's 8 by my watch. It's time to sleep. So I needed
Mommy's time.
Yes, Mommy's time. Mommy's 7. And he's like, no, it's my watch says 8 o'clock sleeping time. And so you need that order for them as well. So, I told you schedule, organize. That's my embodiment. So you need to organize time for them and time away from them for your own sanity. So when they were younger, then I had that 8 o'clock to 10 to be alone. Because sometimes, like when they were much younger, they would also wake up in the night and you need to pay attention to them and all of that. But basically, what I have come to realize is that with the kind of schedule I have, running the business, attending to the foundation and all of that, I won't get 1 month off. But probably I can get a 10 minutes nap in the course of the day, or I can get some 2 hours for myself, or I can get my Sabbath day, my Sunday, where I tell myself I'm not going to do anything, or I can get a long weekend or something. So I think as mothers, let's not look for the 1 month of which you will never get anything.
Even when they've moved out.
Like this morning, one is in camp, 2 are in boarding house, but I got a call, can you come to me today? So even when they move out, they will still be in touch, and they will still kind of sometimes colonize your whole life if you are not careful. But you need to create those little pockets of time for yourself. So apart from that physical time, you also need to take care of your body in terms of what you are eating. We should know our body types.
Yeah.
There are certain foods that gives me heartburns. I stay away from it. I know which kind of smoothies work with me. Plan it into your routine.
Exactly.
So when I wake up in the morning, I drink water, 1.5 liters. I know, right? And then I have to pee after that, but it works. So I drink water, and then I do a smoothie, a non-sugar smoothie, like leaves, spinach, and those kinds of things. And then it settles me before I start eating. So I have these little care plans that I have built in. And then I try to do walks because I find that I sleep better when I exercise. And I don't like jogging, but I like walking. So I try to do some walks at least 3-4 times a week. So I walk as well. I pay attention to what I eat. I make time to have these little naps every now and then. So pay attention to myself. And I like this. I don't know whether it's Spanish or Italian. it's called the dolce far niente, like the art of doing nothing.
Yeah.
So when you're scheduling your time, put that in and just.
It is so important.
It's important. Just do nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
And even not phones. I mean, even not that. Just to do nothing and plan those schedules into your life.
And even the phones, they've given us airplane mode. Like basically nothing comes in, nothing goes out. You're off. And it can just be 5 minutes and you're fine. I know you do practice meditation as well.
Yes.
And breathing.
Yes.
I think you should say a little bit about it. And because I think people see meditation as
yoga.
Yeah, I don't have to think about anything and nothing must come into my mind and I have to be super centered and
so I do about 15 minutes of meditation every morning. No, this morning I did, but usually I do it in the evenings because in the mornings there's school drop off, lunch, breakfast, and it's just a lot in the mornings. But usually when they are in bed and just before I also retire to bed, I just sit. I sit and I tell myself what I want to tell myself. So I take a deep breath in, like I have a blissful life in, I have a peaceful life out. So I do those breathing exercises with what they call mantras.
Yeah.
But mantra, I mean, I'm not from the Asian background, so I don't understand their mantras. So I create one for myself that works for me.
Absolutely.
And so I actually sit in the yoga, the lotus position, and then I do it. I do about 15 minutes. And I find that it keeps me centered. So then I get a call from my school. Like, and this one is sick and he can't cough and he's coughing and he can't breathe. And then you're like, okay, it's going to be well. We're going to find a way to bring him home and deal with it. So it keeps you centered. And it helps you also remember that there's a bigger power outside of you that
Absolutely.
you can tap into and connect with. And everything is taken care of. You just need to tap into that source.
Everything that's happening to you is not happening to you, but for you.
Yes.
So it all works out beautifully.
It's beautiful.
In the end.
Yeah.
Next on Famlo.
How do you support and transition your children into the teenage years?
I think I've encouraged them to enjoy the ages at which they are at every point that they are in that space, because you will never be 2 again. You will never be 5 again. So I enjoy it.